Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to another episode of the City Boys podcast. My name is Jacob, and I am joined by two of my best friends and biggest soccer nerds I know. We're going to go to Ethan. How are you doing today, bro?
I am fantastic, Jacob. Of course, it is another day in paradise. I'm so glad to be here. We actually are talking about a good result on the road. I can hardly believe it. I'm so excited, though. Grayson, how are you doing? It looks a little different where you're at.
Yeah, I'm out here in Massachusetts. I'm a bit further from St. Louis than usual, but luckily I have not run into Tim Parker yet. He's not trying to beat me up. We're good. We're good. But it is pretty cool out here. Just spent the day in Salem looking at some spooky stuff. But this game was kind of spooky for a while. We came out hot, but then it got a little spooky there for a minute. Got a lot to
Yeah,
talk about for sure.
as Ethan alluded to, we are going to be talking about the victory away to San Jose this past weekend. Our first victory on the road this weekend. And no better way to start it out than taking a look at the lineups for this game.
Oh yeah, I got it once again. This lineup, I have to thank Mr. Hack for listening to the last episode because he pretty much used the lineup that I asked for. And it kind of looks perfect for matches just like this where we are missing Edward Leuven. Um, Luckily, Mr. Leuven did miss out on the starting 11 just for match management. Hopefully nothing's going on. But seems to be, yeah, he just played like 11 matches, full 90, starting 11. So he earned a little break.
Well earned.
So for this matchup, we've got the 4-1-4-1. Of course, we've got Mr. Roman Berkey in net with another fantastic performance from him. Back in the starting 11, we had Thomas Totland, and I got to say, it was very nice to see him on the right-hand side. One of his best defensive performances that we've seen from him yet. We've got Josh Yarrow and Kyle Hebert filling in for Kessler, who is on injury for a little bit. We've got Giannis Horn at left back. And then the lone CDM this week is Chris Durkin. And then our midfield four, we've got Rasmus Alm out on the right, getting a start. Welcome back. We got Tuchert and Hartel in the double tens in the midfield that looked pretty solid. Really nice seeing both of them in their best positions. Out on the left, we had Thorson, and up top, João Klaus. We did have a couple of subs this week. Akil Watts coming in pretty early to replace Chris Durkin in the 24th minute. He actually did pretty well. He had 66 minutes. I got to shout out the dude. Did not misplace a single pass.
34th
66 minutes,
touch.
100% passing.
Crazy.
Pretty solid. And he was looking pretty bold out there. He did get not the greatest game, but he did put in some work. We had Jaden Reed coming in for Giannis Horn. Then Indiana Vasilov did come in to get some minutes. We had Simon Betcher coming in up top for Klaus in the second half. And then we saw Jake Gerwood Reich coming in for Thorson to kind of shore up the defense there at the end of the game. What do you guys think about this lineup?
Well, like we said, if it's broke, fix it. And it was really good that Hackworth did change it up.
Yeah.
We lost. Now we won. So I think that he can take a little bit of credit for that. Leaving Chris Durkin in that lone pivot role, I thought was almost scary. And then we weren't even treated to the engine on him for the whole game. I also was surprised almost to see that Kessler did not pass concussion protocol. He didn't even travel, and I think that St. Louis is just being cautious, which I can honestly appreciate, especially with a new signing. Center back has been somewhat of a weakness for us this year. I thought Yarrow and Hebert did all right, not too notable, not the best center back performance in the world. Totland coming back was amazing. Like you said, Grayson, definitely his best defensive performance of the year. Giannis Horn also notably He apparently was hurt in the first half and was calling for a sub at about the 40th minute, but he was able to boss up, see it out till halftime, so they didn't have to use another substitution window, and that is why Jay Reed came in. Jacob, what did you make of Akil Watts coming in at that pivot role?
I thought Akil Watts looked phenomenal. I think he is a massively underrated player on our squad.
Agreed.
He plays with what did they say back in the day about Arturo Vidal? He plays like he's got a knife between his teeth.
Hmm.
And I think that sums up Akil Watts really well. He's got that chip on his shoulder because he doesn't start all the time, and so it comes into his play when he does get out there. He wants to make an impression, and I thought he made his presence well known, um, especially in a position where you're the lone CDM, a guy that hasn't been getting a lot of minutes this season, coming in and like Grayson pointed out, 100% for passing as a CDM is huge, especially when that's not your main job. Your main job's to bust up tackles and maybe put in a couple good efforts with the ball. But yeah, I loved Akil Watts. I did have some question marks with this lineup coming out. I was very thankful to hear from Tom Timmerman. I think let everybody know that Edu was just out because of match management. So that was good news. The bad news for me for this starting 11 was Novke Thorson getting a start again. I think Indiana Vasilev has put in way better shifts starting, and I also wanted to see Simon Becker on the field from the jump. I know he could play up top with Klaus, and he also put in a shift on the right side in a game prior. So why not feed the hot hand? He is our most effective goal scorer at the moment. Actually, that might have changed now with Cedric and Hartel putting a goal in this weekend as far as statistically. But yeah, definitely wanted to see Simon Becher and not Novke Thorson. And then my only real issue is our backline like is really short when we play with this four. Like Thomas Totland is a short king. Josh Yaro's like right on the cusp of 6 foot. Kyle Hebert's on the cusp of 6 foot. And then Giannis Horn, I think, is also a short king. So like all our height is in our attack, which makes it really difficult to defend set pieces, as we will get into. I would have preferred to see like Michael Wenzel or JGR jump in at center back to start this match, especially with long legs being out. But other than that, I mean, the lineup produced a W, and we're gonna get into it. Let's see, Grayson, do you want to take us into the beginning of the match?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. And hey, just like I said last time, STL is on a beautiful hot streak of coming out hot and scoring first. We are at 5 matches in a row now. 5 matches in a row, yeah. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet to see it. This first goal comes in the 3rd minute from a throw-in. Giannis Horn to Klaus. Klaus takes it down and lays it off to Hartel, who spots Horn darting down the line. He finds him open in space. Horn with a beautiful searching cross on the ground for Alm, who has the awareness to dummy the ball through to an wide open Cedric Touchert, who buries it easily. Lovely, lovely, simple goal. Textbook. Love to see it. And yeah, that is 4 goals in 5 games for Cedric Touchert there. So definitely a nice streak for St. Louis and for SETI as well. And
Yeah,
then
I would just like to point out here, if the camera will focus on me, I'll even say it
Mm.
if I'm blurry. The dummy makes this play happen. The fact that Alm's run draws 3 defenders into him near post. Everybody on San Jose's backline thought Alm was going to get the ball, and he just lets it run through so that there's a
Yep.
tap in. Like that was big brained, if anything else.
Not to mention Toikert's positioning on that goal. I feel like that's somewhere that we've seen him often already, and he hasn't been with the team very long. They actually asked him in the post-match press conference, "Why do you find so much success there?" And he actually said that his best position and his preferred position is just playing right underneath the striker. So Grayson, when you were talking about that lineup and saying that we put Toiker and Hartel in their best positions, I think that this goal is just exemplary of that.
Yeah, I said it last week. I was comparing this lineup to the Chelsea lineup, and I said Klaus is the Didier Drogba. That means that Tuchel is the Frank Lampard, the arriving late, the goal-scoring midfielder. That's who he is.
Lamps was
So
like that at the time.
Lamps
That's
was
legendary company to be in the same sense as. So I can't talk too much crap on it, but go ahead.
it's a good comparison. We'll see it. We'll see it come to fruition, I swear. But seventh minute, we're moving forward. We're still in the first 10 minutes of the game. Hartel takes the ball down the line, cuts in to beat his man. He kind of gets like fouled in the back a little bit there, but Thor ghosts in and picks up the ball. He glides down, slides because he took a little bit of a too big of a touch, but he slides and saves it. Snaps a little layoff to Klaus, maybe a little bit too hot, but either way, I think Klaus has got to do a little bit better on this one. He taps it just wide of the post. This one, it could be 2-0 in the first 7 minutes. And then what's that? Is that it is 2-0 in the first 7 minutes because 1 minute later, there's a turnover. There was so many sloppy giveaways in the first 10 from San Jose. They just did not seem up for it. And we had to take advantage of it, and we did. Turnover picked up by Durkin, one time laid off, kind of a nice little looping ball to Klaus, who takes it and turns, hits a little chip over Rodriguez to Hartel. Rodriguez just goes into a blind 2-footed tackle. And to be fair, he barely touches Hartel, but it's a very dangerous tackle either way. It was just, you shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. Putting himself in a dangerous position there, and the ref calls it. That goes to the spot. And this is one of the nicest finishes of the season I've seen so far. So their goalkeeper Yarborough is trying his absolute best to throw off Hartel. He's pointing him. He's trying to get him to go to the bottom right corner. Hartel's like, all right, I'll put it right where you want it.
Say no more.
And bro could not move. That stutter step from Hartel was lethal. Just had keeper with cement in his boots. It was a rough one. But 2-0 City pretty early on. And at this point, I started to feel like this could be a nice blowout for St. Louis. 26th minute is San Jose's first real attempt on goal. Too much time on the ball from Tuchel means a quick turnover to Espinosa. Plays it downfield. They cut it back to the top of the box for a shot, but Berkey comes up and gets down to his right side, makes a nice stop. And it was a very beautiful stop. But that is all for me for the first 30.
Yeah, we're going to jump to the 33rd minute. It is a San Jose corner kick. It comes in. Totland is there to clear it, but he just kicks it basically straight up. And Rodriguez is the first to meet it. And he tries to volley it right out of the air. And he just swing and a miss. Berkey's there to clean up the fodder. This does beg questions. Like Totland had an amazing performance. Like his defense was definitely the best we've seen in quite a while. I think this was the one play that he's definitely going to be looking at in the film room. Like I got to get a foot on this to actually clear away the danger. We're going to go to the 39th minute where we see Hartel carded for kicking the ball away after a Klaus's foul on a San Jose player, which is just like it's a soft yellow, and also you can't be doing that. Like we've said in the past, we would prefer our attacking players to be on yellow cards as opposed to our defenders. And also, this is the stupidest yellow to concede. You gotta just play to the whistle. When the whistle blows, no need for that extra bullshit. We're still in the first half. Wait till it's the 70th minute and we're trying to waste some time. But then we jump to the 45th minute. San Jose has the ball in our half, and just like butter, there's a quick ball into Ibobasi, who first touch flicks it to the run of Akapo, who drives into our box, and he squares a pass back to the penalty spot where Ibobasi hits it first time, slots it into the bottom right corner. There's nothing Klaus can do about, or not Klaus. There's nothing Berkey can do about it. most of my questions on this play are with our midfield and our defenders. Like, where's our man marking on this play? Like, nobody's got a Bobasi when he drops into the midfield to even receive the ball. Like, that's where Durkin needs to be. That's where Akil Watts needs to be busting up that play. And then where's Giannis Horn on the run for Akapo making it down the sideline? Like, he's got to be man marked. And then once the ball's in your box, you can't foul because it's going to be a penalty. So we have to stop that buildup before it even happens. So it's 2-1, and in the 45th minute of the first half, Lopez gets the ball, takes a peek at the goal from 30 yards out, and rifles a curling shot that almost gets into the top left corner of the net. It actually nestled itself perfectly on top of the net in the back left corner. That for a second there, I thought a screamer had just been scored on us, like we've seen a couple of times this season, and it was like wind could have been taken out of our sails at that moment. But yeah, then we get to halftime, and I think Hackworth must have been in there screaming and yelling because the boys came out very, very hot to start the second half. Instead of our typical pass the ball back, let Roman Berkey get it, serve a ball up, try to win the ball in their end, a complete 180 from that, straight off half, the boys tried to do a FIFA kickoff goal to where we immediately started attacking, trying to catch San Jose on their back foot, which we did, and we had an almost half chance to start the game. We ended up giving up a goal kick, but from there, I thought we were going to really put our foot on the throats of San Jose this match and really force the question about stealing 3 points from them. But then we started to fall off in the final 30. Tell us what happened, Ethan.
From there, Jacob, San Jose, a lot of these chances I'm going to be talking about are for San Jose in these final 30, which is just not what we want to see. It's actually pretty typical of St. Louis City recently, it feels like. I digress, though. In the 68th minute, we see a long ball from Rodriguez, the center back. It finds Skeen, I believe, whose goal side of Josh Yarrow. This is not his best moment defending. Thankfully, Skeen's touch takes him too wide, and he's only able to find the side of the outside of the net. However, just a better team punishes us there, and over the top, it quickly in transition. It's a book we've read before. In the 75th minute, Lopez would find his man on the outside flank where Ewell would try like a funky back heel flick on the top of the box that our defense kind of like putters around on the top of the 18. Espinoza from San Jose ends up with possession and takes like a good half volley, but Berkey just covered it up. Thank goodness we have one of the best goalkeepers in the MLS. However, right off the back of that chance in the 77th minute, City responded with a chance of their own when Betcher and Totland combined really nicely up that right side in the corner. I feel like up by a goal later on in the game, this is exactly the kind of attack that your team needs to be producing. And thankfully, Betcher would essentially lay it off for Indy right on the top of the box, and Indy catches it extremely sweetly with that left foot. But San Jose has maybe one of their best defensive moments of the night, and it's kind of just a run-of-the-mill block for him. Later on in the 87th minute, and really the least or the last notable chance or the moment of the game is in the 87th minute when our head coach, John Hackworth, finds himself in the book for arguing a pretty bad tackle on San Jose. I don't disagree that it was definitely at least worthy of a foul, but personally, I'm not a huge fan of when coaches get involved like that in a game. The San Jose coach also had a yellow card, and I didn't like that. What did y'all make of Hack getting a yellow card? Are y'all into that? The coach getting fired up off the sideline, or would you prefer that they manage the game in the locker room?
So I'm gonna uh I have two minds in it, right? The game is definitely for the players. You're as a coach, you do all you can throughout the week to prepare your team to go out and perform. And also, when you're going to war with your boys, you gotta have their back. And I get fired up when
I
I
feel
see the
it.
coach fired up. Like, give him a yellow, let him be heard. Like Hackworth is like few and far between. We see a lot of emotion from Hackworth. So the fact that he got fired up enough to yell at the referee, let alone yell whatever he did in order to get a yellow card. has me fired up. You can tell he's definitely trying to show why he deserves the head coaching job. And this is one of those moments he can point to, like, is your next coaching candidate going to fight for the team the way I do?
Mm.
And I got to say, like, when I was growing up, I was always taught, like, you don't, you leave the arguing with the ref to the coach. The players, you just, I mean, okay, I would love a good argue with the ref. I love to chat shit to the ref. But for my own players, leave him alone. Don't get needless yellow cards. That's what the captain is there for on the field, to talk to the ref, and our coach is going to go to war for us on the sidelines. And I know whenever I saw, growing up in youth soccer, if I saw my coach getting fired up and yelling at the ref over a bad foul or something, I was getting fired up too. If Doug Bambini, if he got kicked out of a game, I don't remember if he ever got kicked out of a game for us. I'm trying to remember, but if he did, I'd be hyped. I'd be hype about it.
That's fair. That's fair, gentlemen. I can't argue that it does definitely amp up the hype factor. For me, from the player perspective, it almost distracts from the game. But Jacob, I can't disagree that when they reflect on that, I think it does make for a good argument for why he should get the head coaching position. For his passion is a point on that resume for sure. But that would about see the game out. Thankfully, St. Louis City would somehow see out a lead for 77 minutes, is how long we maintained. We took our first win on the road this season, 2-1 in San Jose. I don't care if this is the worst team in the league and they might have even outplayed us a little bit for a lot of the game. We are coming away with the 3 points on the night. Oh my gosh.
I care. I care. That was such an ugly win. Granted, it was a win. And when we're what, 14 points clear them in the table, and they're like literally dead last in all MLS standings,
Yep.
like home or away, you have to come in and you have to dominate. Like Ethan said it earlier in his review, a better team puts those chances away. And the fact that we're even conceding half chances to this team that last year couldn't play with us, and this year they outplayed us, like it was bad. But I digress.
Well, this game does have implications and results going forward, especially given our very narrow but still alive chances to make the playoffs. We do remain in 13th. Also, notably on the table, you will see 6 wins on the season so far. 6. That
Right.
is not
Climbing.
great, but you can't
Climbing.
count them on one hand. So that's a start. We are on 31 points, which is actually level with our little brother, our next opponent, Sporting Kansas City, which ironically has already been eliminated from playoff contention. Wah, wah. You hate to see it. I believe, are 10 points behind Minnesota, 11 points behind Minnesota. Can someone verify that?
Give me 2 seconds and I will verify it.
We are still alive, but we're barely breathing. Shout out to the script. We still have a chance
11.
11.
somehow. If Minnesota gains 1 point from their final matches, I believe we will be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. But
Yeah.
I have hope. What
Jeez.
can I say? We
Yeah,
got our win.
if we didn't have another game against Minnesota this season, we would be mathematically eliminated. And that's the only reason that tied on points, Sporting Kansas City is eliminated. We have a shot. Like there's a website that I was looking at. We literally have equal to 1% of a chance to make the playoffs. But you're saying
To make
there's
the
a chance.
That's absurd. I love it. This is all what being a fan is about, riding that 1% chance until it kills you.
I think moves us pretty well into Grayson's point. Do you want to go ahead and give us that point, Grayson?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So a lot of times this season, I have begged for a grinded out win. And I gotta say it, this is not the one I wanted. um, I got what I wished for though. I just had wished it was not against San Jose. I wish this was against a team much, much better than us. And yeah, this was quite a painful watch, but we did hold them. We earned 3 points away, something we've been incapable of doing. That's very important. And when I asked for a 1-0 win, um, grinded, I'm asking for a performance where we play bad and we're still able to win. And that's exactly what we got. We looked great in the first half, I will say. Things were going solid. The offense was coming out hot. And then I think most of that was due to Chris Durkin. Durkin did look, he looked pretty solid in that solo defensive midfielder role. I did like it. I'd like to see more from him. Maybe we can try it again sometime, but we'll see. But this was an ugly, ugly win. And yeah, when we come up against a team this statistically bad, I did not want it to be that. You never want it to be this close of a game, but still, this very easily could have been a draw. We could have let them climb back into the game, sneak one in, and we did make mistakes this game, but we didn't let those mistakes cost goals. And hey, we were missing our best defense. We're missing our main man, Edward Leuven. So 2-1 over San Jose isn't pretty. It's not necessarily a proud moment, but it's still a super important win. And you got to play the team in front of you. I mean, we beat San Jose. That's all we can beat this week. It's not always pretty, but 3 points is always a positive. So we move on.
Missing Lovin, I think, is definitely a huge piece of the different kind of complexion of the team this week. But I also want to point out missing Henry Kessler on the defense, especially, felt costly as well. We definitely did not feel as strong or complete aerially defending set pieces. Once again, we felt really vulnerable. The second chances seemed like they all fell to San Jose and were mostly dangerous. So, yeah, Grayson, I agree. This was definitely an ugly win and maybe not necessarily one to be proud of, but I think when we look back on positives from the 2024 season, beating San Jose 2 times this year, including once on the road, will be a shinier spot.
And we continue to stay undefeated against San Jose. Like, not that that is a rival of ours in any case. It is something to hang your hat on. Like, this is a team that has still yet to beat us in a season where we haven't been our best. So,
And yeah, I do think that missing Leuven is like a lot bigger of a issue than we think, just because if we have Henry Kessler in this lineup, Kessler is going to be able to move the ball around. But without Kessler, without Leuven, granted, I did think that uh Akil Watt's passing was a bit better, but there were many moments in the second half where we were possessing the ball and we could not get the ball to move forward out of our defense. They just kept cycling it back and forth, and no one could make a pass forward because of our wingbacks are pushing super high, and both of our center backs just looked afraid to make a pass. But with Leuven in there, you have him to cycle the ball forward. With Kessler in there, you have him to cycle the ball forward. So there was a lot of issues in that game, but we were still able to overcome them. So that I think that was pretty important. But
I
yeah, that
agree.
is all my point. So who's up next?
I personally, I think I could go next. This is kind of the highlight of the match as a whole. My point this week is that points on the road are key to a good season, and we just won our first road match. So I'm gonna go basically why we haven't had a good season. Surprise, surprise. Um, but there's 34 matches in a season, and half of those matches are played away. That is 17 possible matches to get points away from home. If you won all of them, that would be 51 points on the road. And while that sounds amazing, that's just not realistic in the slightest. Um, More realistically is winning a third of them and drawing a third of them, and that leaves a third to lose. So 17 divided by 3 also isn't an even number. So I'm going to say that's 5 wins, 5 draws, and what, 8 losses on the road?
Sure.
7 losses on the road. That gives you 20 points away, which is more than half of the points that we currently have this season. And then if you couple that with being a fortress at home, which in like a perfect realistic world, that's probably 10 wins at home, a couple draws and a couple losses. That's you're well on your way to a 50+ point season at that point. Um, with 4 matches left to go, and the fact that we just won our first away match of the season, this is clearly not a recipe for long-term success. Obviously, next year we're going to be looking at playing better both home and away, just as a general point. Um, and also, a win is a win, and I will take it. I am extremely frustrated it's taken this long, and also that is a monkey off of our back. On the season, we are now 1 win, 8 draws, and 6 losses. So if we win our next 2 away matches, we will end at 3, 8, and 6, which is disgusting. And right now we are 5, 5, and 5 at home, which is also disgusting. So at best, we can finish 3, 8, and 6 away and 7, 5, and 5 at home.
It's not a playoff team's record.
No.
And not to mention, we have LAFC on the road, one of the league's best team, challenging for the Supporter Shield, already clinched a playoff spot. They were able to get a win on the road this season against a certain opponent in red.
What?
Um,
They
yeah.
actually they have a piece of stock in our club right now. That's how badly we got whooped in that game.
I try not to think about that one.
Yeah, Denny Boanga is a co-owner of STL.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, if that does it for your point, I will get into our third and final of the night, which is just how nice it is to have Santa Claus back. I have seen him get so much stick online all season. To be fair, mostly on Facebook, just about his lack of goal scoring prowess, how poor he's been this season. And I truthfully could not disagree more. I think that my main point is that Klaus has a physical presence that not really anyone else on the team can bring. Yes, Edu Levin's a really big body, and our defense is, has enough, but Klaus is the only person who can function as one of those physical players as high up as he can on the field, which really feeds into our high press and gegenpressing style of play. To be fair, this season, by no means has he been up to the standard of the focal point of an offense. I don't really think that anyone would argue that. I think that Klaus would even say that. However, since he's returned from injury, I don't think he necessarily took the starting spot from Betcher. He's just better in that position. He finds himself in better positions. He challenges more. And I believe that really what he brings is that physical presence up top as well as his IQ. I was surprised to see that he and Betcher did not share time on the field together against San Jose, but it's a good problem to have right now, having two good strikers in Betcher and Klaus. Who would you guys bring out against Sporting Kansas City?
So as far as playing Sporting Kansas City, and also this goes into something I wanted to touch on with your point. I would start Klaus. Klaus has played them before. He understands well, I bet you Betcher understands the height of the rivalry,
Definitely.
but he's been there before. And also, when we had Mr. Views on and we had just signed Simon Becker, we had talked about how Becker's role when Klaus gets back is probably going to be that spark plug super sub piece coming in for Zhao Klaus, because Klaus is going to give us 60 minutes of high press, hard work, like high tempo work rate that we've seen since he's been back. Who would you start against Sporting Kansas City, Grayson?
I would also start Klaus, but I'm also going to argue for Betcher. Betcher, so Klaus has come back and um, he's fit really well into the lineup. He links play so well. His hold up play is fantastic. The only thing he hasn't contributed yet is goals, and that's what Betcher has contributed. Betcher's come in immediately, started poaching goals. He's fantastic off the bench, but we've also seen it when he does start. His like intensity just catches people off guard. And we saw him create a goal for Two Shirt last week, taking it down off of his chest and having it he's just an annoying guy. And he's not as big as Klaus, but he throws his body around like he is a big guy. He can't hold people off that well, but he tries his best. And I think his link up play is pretty good as well. And that's why I think that Klaus and Betcher would be a real powerhouse up top, a good duo, striker duo. But for me, I do have to stick with Klaus because this guy loves a goal against Kansas City. Um, Last season, I'll never forget his volley against Kansas City at home last season. It was so beautiful. And seemed like he was scoring goals on accident, scoring goals for fun. I want to see that Klaus again. Um, and I think I got to start him this week. So as much as I think Betcher deserves it, I want Klaus in there.
One final thing I wanted to touch on from your point, Ethan, is last season Klaus was definitely our attacking focal point, and we saw it when he went down. Like Joaquini ended up having 10 goals on the season, but he didn't fill that void in the way that like Klaus fills his own void. But I think going forward with our new pieces of Hartel and Toy Shirt, Klaus isn't going to be asked to be the focal point so much as that link up player up top. I think his most important role is going to be holding the ball up and then dishing it to those two guys underneath to make those plays. And the other goal scoring aspect is going to come for him in like poaching goals. And also, he's taller than almost every single person on the field for corner kicks. So I would imagine that's where Klaus is going to end up getting most of his goals going forward.
Yeah, Jacob, you pretty much take the words right out of my mouth because I did mention that Klaus is not, he hasn't played up to that focal point standard. However, a couple players you have include Marcel Hartel and Cedric Toykert. Both of them could easily function as focal points of our attack. And I think for that reason, we have to leave Klaus in the game against Sporting Kansas City to start just because the link up play, the combinations that Hartel, and Toykert can come up with in the middle of the field at least are the possibilities are endless, of course. But my mouth just gets to water and just thinking about it because that can make our attack so deadly. I will say I don't believe that Thorson is the piece of the puzzle on the left side. Jacob, you said it earlier, and I totally agree. For me, against Kansas City, at least, that's got to be Indiana Vasilev.
Yeah, I think going forward, like if Durkin is like truly hurt and can't go for KC, also this is going to get into our preview of Kansas City. Um, I would really like to see a 4-3-3 in like a one holding, two attacking center mid position with Edu at that deep line holding mid, and then Toykert and Marcel Hartel up above. And then left side be Indy, Klaus be up top, right side be Alm, and give Klaus that freedom to either play as a false nine or that true out and out up top. And then with those three players, like obviously Hartel and Toykert aren't as good defensively as Edu is, but the rotation of those three in that midfield, I think would be really, really spicy and also give us like way better attacking prowess.
I could definitely see that for us as well, Jacob. I think it could also play into the fluidity of our German trio in that midfield. I doubt that Cedric Teukert is going to do a real shift at CDM, but I've already seen the guy work his ass off to get back on defense and track back like a dream number 8 would. And I also know from watching the post-match press conference how excited he is for the upcoming derby, just coming up against Kansas City. He is treating it like I would dream a European star even would be treating it. Toykert is extremely ready for this match. And so, yeah, I think that is an extremely hypothetical lineup, Jacob. I think you're onto something.
I don't think you're too far off. I don't think we'll ever see a straight 4-3-3, but I think the 4-1-4-1 is Hart or Hackworth's version of that 4-3-3. It's just having our wingers be more defensive because we know that Hartel and Tuchert have their defensive frailties. So I think instead of having our wingers push up more into that 4-3-3, we have them in the midfield to kind of help line up and protect our defense a little bit. But I think it's pretty much the same thing.
I think you guys are forgetting a very key play where Quaker is very good at that tactical foul of just grabbing a guy by the shoulders and bringing him down in transition and taking a yellow card.
Extremely true. Extremely true. Just a high IQ player
Yeah.
on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I would not be upset if Hackworth gave the keys to the car to that German trio in the midfield.
I don't think he's going to get stuck in at the top of the 18 and put 2 feet into a challenge. However, I also wouldn't put it past him.
I'm just a little worried. I'm scared about having our defense is already so weak. So I'm scared of like getting rid of that. Because I do think Leuven will be fine at CDM, but I'm a little worried that if he's not, because that's not him, it's not him ideally. So I'm just a little worried we get torn up by that. But I mean, we'll see this weekend. I feel like this weekend we'll probably go back to a 4-2-3-1. Just because it's what Hackworth has played as his strongest lineup with all of our healthy players back in. As much as I don't think it's our best formation, I think that's what Hackworth thinks is our best formation to use all the pieces available. So we'll probably see Hartel back out left again, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see. We'll see though.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he sticks with the 4-1-4-1. I think that
We like it.
he finally figured out how to get our best players into their best positions. And with Edu coming off of a rest match, I think he is like rearing to go for 90 minutes. And I mean, we've been a little informally previewing Sporting this upcoming game against Sporting Kansas City, but I think that we can dive head first right into it now.
Wait,
Oh my gosh.
it's KIT KLASH,
I
ladies and
almost did it.
gentlemen. Ding, 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 ding. We're back. We're back, and we are reviewing the San Jose home kits. What was this called? The
The active fault kit, because as we
active
know,
fault.
California is basically on
San
the
Andreas
tectonic
fault.
plate. Yeah.
I've seen the movie with The Rock. It's wild. But yeah, honestly, you may have seen earlier, if you're a diehard City Boys fan, that we are posting our KIT Clashes on Instagram now as well. So go ahead and post your own rating in the comment section down there. But I rated this kit a 7.5. I do like it. I think it looks even better on the pitch. The nice navy with the jagged mountainous pattern. I thought it was pretty fire. But yeah, I do like it. It's a good look. Good look for them. 7.5 for me.
I
Or
don't
maybe it's 7.
disagree.
I don't remember what I said.
That sounds right. This is, yeah, for a very below average team, this is a very above average kit. I also am a big fan of their 50th anniversary kit. I know Jacob doesn't like that one at all, but
I don't
I'm
like that
a
one either.
fan. So
The
it is
other one's
what
better.
it is. This one for me gets an 8.2. It really wins points for me with its relation to San Jose and the city of California. That's always cool. It's similar to me as like the St. Louis City kit having the arch pattern down this right hand side. So that's why I like it a little more than normal, I think. And I don't have to get my lick back this week. So that's always a plus.
I'm gonna talk for two people here. As our Instagram followers have spoken, the Stlsc Confluence kit won in a resounding 80 to 20% on the poll.
What a
So
20.
I'm gonna say that people rated the San Jose kit a 2.0 out of
Ooh.
10. Um, but then for myself, I do like this kit a lot. The mountain pattern, like you guys have spoken to, is sick. The blue is a great color. It also looks really great on the field next to our white and our red kits. I think it's just very pleasing to the eye. I was also surprised to learn that San Jose has won the MLS twice, as you can see by those two stars above their crest, which is absolutely wild for the run of form they've been in for the last two seasons. Definitely an MLS casual coming out here. I know San Jose used to be good, obviously, and also they're performing poorly. So I hope for the San Jose fans that improves for you guys, and for the St. Louis fan and me, keep eating dirt. Um, I'm going to give this kit a 7.9 because anything above an 8 is only for STL kits.
Ooh.
And man, that Confluence kit looks better and better every time I see it on pitch. So fire. So fire. Oh my God.
I don't know if you guys knew this. I learned this from shout out to Toasted Raviolis. When you buy your Confluence kit, you can like brush on the kit where you want the wave pattern to go for the Confluence kits. So it's like your own personal
Dude, what?
like waves. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Shout out to Toasted Raviolis.
That's so cool. I even have one,
Did
but I
you
got
get to
it.
do the
I got it as a gift.
so somebody else did the
I have to ask my mommy.
yeah,
Mhm.
but
What? Is that it for Kit Clash this week? Can we
I,
move on to our preview?
I think so.
Oh.
As we've been talking about, our next opponent is Sporting Kansas City, our little brother in MLS, our rowdy next door neighbors across the state. Um, Sporting Kansas City's kind of been in a rut as of late. They lost 2-0 to Minnesota. We've just lost to Minnesota. They beat Colorado 4-1. They lost to Seattle 2-0, and then they just drew the Red Bulls on the 7th. I have that backwards. Sorry, I'm looking at it wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say they just beat the Rapids, I think.
This is weird to
I
look
thought there
at.
was a mid. I thought that was the midweek game for them. Was the
Why they
Rapids game?
don't have it in order on that screen is crazy to me. Let's redo this. They drew the Red Bulls 1-1 with a red card. They lost to Seattle 2-0, beat Colorado 4-1 on Wednesday, and then lost to Minnesota 2-0. This Wednesday, they do play LAFC for the US Open Cup final. So I'm sure they're going to start all of their best in that 11, especially because they're already eliminated from playoffs. This is the one silverware they can win on the season. So they're probably going to go all out for that, which leaves St. Louis a great opportunity to come and win 3 points, especially since we need to stay on pace slash beat any result that Minnesota has throughout the season. So I'm going to predict a win. This game is at home. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, this game is at home. So I'm definitely going to predict a win. They have St. Louis as a win probability 49% to Kansas City's 27%, with a 24% chance of drawing.
5% chance to draw.
City's going to win. We're not going to keep a clean sheet because we haven't in some time. I'm going to say we do get out with a 3-1 win. Edu back in the lineup. So Edu from a set piece. And then realistically, I'd like to see Alm get back on the score sheet as my actual guess for goal scorer.
I think that's extremely realistic, Jacob. And just to back up your clean sheet stat with an actual number, it's 13 matches since our last clean sheet. That's a pretty big amount. Fortunately for us, Sporting Kansas City has not won a game, an away game in their last 5 matches. So we are actually potentially looking good on that front, Jacob. And I totally forgot about the US Open Cup final. And I really hope they send out their best players for 90 minutes and lose. That would just make my heart smile and laugh. As for my prediction, I am going to go for a similar vein, Jacob. No clean sheet for us. However, I think we will ultimately get a second half goal to like propel us to victory. So I'm going to say 3-1. And I think I said it last week, and I'm going to repeat myself because he's bound to do it. Joao Klaus is going to find the back of the net. It seems a little too easy to pick Hartel or Toykert. They do it every week.
It's also only right because he was your point for this week.
That's my man.
That is a tricky one for if you're Sporting Kansas City. That's definitely a tricky one. I'm trying to decide who your starting 11 is. With those two games to choose from, your biggest rival or a chance at some silverware. Um, but I think we do win this game. You know, Kansas City usually has a rough season and then try to find their form for a little run at the end of the year. Um, little bit too late for them this year. So, but I do think that is what St. Louis is on right now. We're on that comeback game. We're finding our form. We're finding our feet. The new guys are in. They're scoring. We're gonna win this game 2-0. I really want this clean sheet. I think Kessler's going to be back, I think. And we've got Totland back. We've got Horn building up his minutes. I think we're going to have a good weekend. And City's going to win 2-0. But that is a question. If we were in the Open Cup final and we had Kansas City up the weekend, which game would you prioritize? Because for me, that is so hard. What do you got, Jacob?
I've got the training room talk right here. So playoffs are already, we can't make them, right? So our 2 championships are coming up in the next week. We've got LAFC for Leagues Cup final, and then we've got Sporting Kansas City for Battle for the Midwest, Battle for Missouri, whatever you want to call it. That's our semifinal and then final for the season.
Yeah.
You have a spectacular week in that week, and then you just coast to Costa Rica for the rest of the year because we're not making playoffs. So as your head coach, give me all you've got for the next 180 plus minutes, and then you don't have to see me again until January.
I don't know. From a St. Louis City perspective, I'm really easily prioritizing the US Open Cup over the chance to eliminate Sporting Kansas City from the playoffs because ooh, what a sweet bite that would be to eliminate your rival from playoff contention when you've already been knocked out and potentially coming off the back of a silverware win. Like that would give SKC fans some plenty of fodder to talk about over the offseason. However, I think they'll go all out for the US Open Cup because I think they will be more worried about trophies and rivals. And if they're not, which they might not be, small club mentality, then they might bring it all for St. Louis City to knock us out. But I think they'll be too fatigued. I don't think they'll have the legs for it. I'm calling it now.
I
I
do
also
want to.
don't think they can hang with LAFC in the Open Cup final either.
No shot.
Didn't even know
That
they made it that far either. That was pretty wild.
it's really important to point that out because after, and this is looking 2 weeks ahead, after our matchup against Sporting Kansas City, we have LAFC on the road. So with LAFC playing this past Saturday, and then they play on Wednesday, and then they'll play on Saturday, and then they play us on Wednesday. That's 4 games
Ooh.
in the span of what, 2 weeks?
Mm.
Like it's looking really good for STL. Like the fact that unfortunately we're not in the US Open Cup and it was technically a bye week with this last Wednesday. We didn't have to play. Like we are well rested enough to be able to potentially go into LAFC and take points away from them as well.
I'm excited for that. A little bit of a midweek matchup for us.
I don't think Olivier Giroud has played 4 matches in 2 weeks in a couple years. So
He's an old man now. He's retired. He's on vacation. Leave him alone. He's in
true,
LA, soaking
Ooh.
up the sun.
true. But now I would like to open it up for some grab bags. Who wants to go first?
I have a quick one. St. Louis City, our biggest fan of the pod, always watching our episodes. And they watched last week's and they loved us talking about the EAFC ratings. So of course they had to drop their EAFC ratings video. Um, as always, hosted by Indiana Vasilev. Always a great show. They have last season's as well. I'd recommend watching that too. It's just a great little fun video to see some of our favorite players' personalities off the pitch and just shows them having some fun, talking about some good old gaming. So yeah, give that a check out. It's on City's YouTube channel. And then while you're there, subscribe to us. Hey. But yeah, that's it for me. Any other grab bags?
Did want to shout out City 2 for clinching playoffs at the beginning of this month. We did not cover it because we are City 2 casuals. But kind of shout them out this week because they are in the MLS Next Pro playoffs. They have clinched a spot. They do have 2 more regular season games to go. With that, Selmir Pedro got his first start with City 2 this last week in a tough loss, 2-0. And who was the other cat that got a start?
I know Kahima and Klein have been playing for them recently.
Mhm. Joyner, Glover,
Joiner
McSorley.
been starting. Just give me 2 seconds.
You're good.
Uh,
I meant to shout out last episode when we were talking about FIFA, or sorry, EA 25. Please don't sue me. They had released FIFA, or EA themselves had released all-star players that are like gonna blow up, and Caden Glover happened to be one of those players. Pretty sweet to see a STL player. So if you're a manager career mode kind of guy, definitely scoop him up. He's gonna be goated.
Ryan Duggan was the cat who got the start for STL up top in the striker role. So,
Mm.
not in place of Mickey Joyner. Mickey Joyner did still start as an outside midfielder, but Ryan Duggan, a young cat, up there up top. So, who knows? We'll see. Brendan McSorley did sub on for him later in the match, but probably just resting McSorley because we do have playoffs coming up.
Sure.
But that's my only grab bag for this episode.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, it is. I feel unprepared, but I don't got nothing this week. Maybe shout out to Tom Timmerman, Justin Horniker, the all the St. Louis City reporters. Y'all do great work. I don't want to
Oh,
steal any of it, but I love listening to y'all ask questions and I love the reporting and work that y'all do. So that's gonna be my grab bag is shout out to the our city reporters. Thank you.
last grab bag. We are currently sitting at 200 followers on Instagram, which is huge for this podcast that started about 6 months ago now. That's insane that we're already at 200. So shout out to each and every one of you. And also, we're sitting on 59 subscribers on YouTube. So if you are watching and you are not subscribed, but you are a follower of the Instagram, just hit that subscribe button. It's so easy. It's free. You know what else is free? A like on the video. And it's also free to comment to let us know what you think is going to be the result of the, what are we dubbing it? The I-55 rivalry.
70
What is it?
rivalry.
I-70 rivalry.
Battle for the Midwest. Free fires.
Yes,
I like that earlier. That was fire.
I like that. I like
Jacob, before you bring us out, I do have one more thing just for the people that stayed all the way to the end of the video, a little tease, just because we're gonna have another very special guest on the podcast next week. I'm really excited. I'm not gonna reveal who it is. I think we hold that close, but I cannot wait to have this person on. Let's just say it's someone you'll recognize.
Yeah, if you are a fan of St. Louis, um, if you've got your ear to the ground when it comes to St. Louis City soccer, you're gonna know who it is without giving too much away. Anyways, be on
Tune
the
in
lookout
next
for
week.
that. Super excited. Been a long time coming. We've been trying to work this guest in for a couple months now, so really excited that it's coming to fruition. So be on the lookout for that. With that being said, like, subscribe, comment on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify right now, make sure you drop a follow and rate 5 stars. Yeah, and most importantly, don't forget to tell your mother you love her. Peace. STL. STL.